Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Prescott. I'm here at PsychSync, Sync Psychology, and we are going to be continuing going through the OpenStax online 2E textbook. It's quite a word mouthful. And we are going to try, I don't know if we'll do it in this video, but try and finish up chapter 7. There might be a shorter video to wrap it up. But anyways, so last time we spoke about problem-solving strategies, language development, language, schematas, what exactly is cognitive psychology, and we left off right after we looked at the answers to those two kind of problem-solving tasks. We left off at pitfalls to problem solving. So we have a quote here from Albert Einstein, which is, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result." I really like that quote if you've never heard of it. So first we have mental sets, which is persistence in approaching a problem in a way that has worked in the past. So it's a set way of looking at a problem. And it becomes a problem when that way is no longer working. So functional fixedness is inability to perceive an object being used for something other than what it was designed for. So imagine you have a candle, thumbtacks, and a box of matches. You need to mount the candle on the wall and light it. What do? So very few people think to use the box as a holder for the candle, which can be tacked to the wall because they are fixated on its normal function. And I'll be honest with you, that's the way I wouldn't have gotten that. I would have been like, oh, just stick the thumbtacks through the candle onto the wall, which wouldn't be good, and you're gonna light your wall on fire. So next we have biases. So knowledge and reasoning are used to make decisions. However, sometimes our ability to reason can be swayed by biases. So we have an anchoring bias, which is a tendency to focus on one piece of information when making a decision or solving a problem. Then we have confirmation bias, which is a tendency to focus on information that confirms your existing beliefs. Hindsight bias leads you to believe that the event you just experienced was predictable, even though it wasn't. So, you ever hear the phrase hindsight's 2020? That's when, you do something, you mess up, and you're like, oh, I should have done something else like that. I should have realized that would happen, but you couldn't have known. You can always look back on something and be like, oh, this is what I should have done. This is what I should have said. That's why I say hindsight's 2020. Next, we have representative bias, which is a tendency to unintentionally stereotype someone or something, and availability heuristic. So it is tendency to make a decision based on an example, information, or recent experience that is readily available to you, even though it may not be the best example to inform your decision. So next we have classifying intelligence. What is intelligence? Psychologists have come up with many different ways to define intelligence. So Charles Spearman believed intelligence consisted of one general factor called G. And it focused on commonalities amongst various intellectual abilities. Next we have Raymond Cattell, which divided intelligence into two components. Crystallized intelligence, which is acquired knowledge and the ability to retrieve it, so knowing facts, and fluid intelligence, the ability to see complex relationships and solve problems, so knowing how to do something. So the triarchic theory of intelligence, Robert Sternberg's theory identifies three types of intelligence: practical, creative, and analytical. Now, analytical intelligence is an academic problem solving and computation. Practical intelligence is street smarts and common sense, and creative intelligence is imaginative and innovative problem solving. So we have multiple intelligences theory, which is Howard Gardner proposed that each person possesses at least 8 intelligences: linguistic, logical, mathematical, musical, bodily, kinesthetic, spatial, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalist. Now, inter and intrapersonal intelligences are often combined and called emotional intelligence. So these two are often put together and called emotional. Now, go back. Now, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand the emotions of yourself and others, show empathy, understand social relationships and cues, and regulate your own emotions and respond in culturally appropriate ways. So creativity is the ability to generate, create, or discover new ideas, solutions, and possibilities. Now, creative people usually have intense knowledge about something, work on it for years, look at novel solutions, so like unique solutions, and seek out the advice and help of other experts and take risks. Creativity is often thought of as one's ability to engage in divergent thinking. Now, divergent thinking is thinking outside the box, used when more than one possibility exists on a situation. Now, convergent thinking is ability to provide a correct or well-established answer or solution to a problem. So, measures of intelligence. Measuring intelligence can come in many forms. A person's intelligence quotient, or IQ, is a score earned on a test designed to measure intelligence. So, how do psychologists ensure that tests function as valid measures of intelligence? So, we have the Stanford-Binet intelligence scale. Now, in the early 1900s, Alfred Binet developed an intelligence test to use on children to determine which ones might have difficulty in school. Lewis Terman, a Stanford psychologist, modified Binet's work by standardizing the administration of the test and testing thousands of children to establish a norm. Now, standardization is the manner of administration, scoring, and interpretation of results is consistent. Norming is giving a test to a large population so data can be collected comparing groups, such as age groups. Now, the resulting data provide norms slash referential scores used to interpret future scores. Standardization and norming ensure that new scores are reliable. So, Alfred Binet, see him right here, very handsome man. French psychologist Alfred Binet helped to develop intelligence testing. And second figure B, this page is from a 1908 version of the Binet-Simon intelligence scale. Children being tested were asked which face of each pair was prettier. So they look at all these faces of each pair, and each pair they pick the prettier face. So continuing on, the Weschler, I might be saying that wrong. Let me know if I am. Adult Intelligence Scale, or the WACE. So David Weschler's definition of intelligence is the global capacity of the person to act purposely, to think rationally, and to deal effectively with his environment. In 1939, Weschler developed a new IQ test by combining several subtests from other intelligence tests. It tapped into a variety of verbal and nonverbal skills and is one of the most extensively used intelligence tests. Now, Weschler Intelligence Scale for Children, or the WISC-5, is one of many versions used today that test 1, verbal comprehension, 2, visual spatial, 3, fluid reasoning, 4, working memory, and 5, processing speed. Now, the Flynn effect is after years of use within schools and communities, periodic recalibration of WACE led to an observation known as the Flynn effect, and the observation that each generation has a significantly higher IQ than the last. That's the Flynn effect. So here we have a nice bell curve. So results of intelligence tests follow the bell curve. In psychological testing, this graph demonstrates a representative sample/normal distribution of a trait in the human population. So a representative sample is a subset of the population that accurately represents the general population, and it usually requires a large sample size. So here we have, bell curve of the height of the U.S. woman. Seeing most of them fall between 5'3", 5'6", and then they kind of slope down. Not many people are full-grown women are 4'10", not many are above 5'10". So this is like the average. So are you of below average, average, or average height, above average? Just let me know if you want to. So, IQ bell curve. The average IQ score is 100. Standard deviations describe how data are dispersed in a population. Now, one standard deviation in IQ testing is 15 points. So a score of 85 is one standard deviation below the mean, or the average. Now, any score between one standard deviation above and below the mean is considered an average. Now, 82% of the population have an IQ score between 85 and 115. So that's 82% of your population right there. So next we have, we only have a few more slides, guys. Let's power through. Next we have the source of intelligence. So nature or nurture. Now the nature perspective is intelligence is inherited from a person's parents. So the heritability of intelligence is often researched using twin studies. Now, identical twins raised together and identical twins raised apart exhibit a higher correlation between IQ scores than siblings or fraternal twins raised together. Now, nurture perspective is that intelligence is shaped by a child's developmental environment. If parents present children with intellectual stimuli, it will be reflected in the child's intelligence level. So most psychologists now believe that levels of intelligence are a combination of both. Now, your range of reaction, theory that each person responds to the environment in a unique way based on his or her genetic makeup. So your genetic makeup is a fixed quantity, and whether you reach your full intellectual potential is dependent upon environmental factors. So next we have genetics and IQ. We have another chart here. So the correlations of IQs of unrelated versus related persons, whether apart or together, suggest a genetic component to intelligence. So, you can look at this. You have adopted parent-child pairs. They have no genes shared with similarly aged, unrelated children raised together. They also have no genes shared with adoptive siblings. And so down here you have your percent IQ correlation. So then 50% or half siblings have 25% genes shared. Parent-children pairs and fraternal twins raised together have 50% of their genes shared. And then identical twins raised apart still have 100% of genes shared. Next, we have learning disabilities. So learning disabilities are cognitive disorders that affect different areas of cognition, particularly language or reading. So specific neurological impairments, not an intellectual/developmental problem, and it often affects children with an average to above average intelligence, and they exhibit comorbidity with other disorders. So, for example, we have dysgraphia, a learning disability resulting in a struggle to write legibly. They have difficulty putting their thoughts down on paper. And we have dyslexia, which I'm sure you've heard of before. I think it's like the most prevalent one everybody knows about, is an inability to correctly process letters. It's the most common learning disability in children and may mix up letters within words and sentences, so letter reversals. So these written words show variations of the word teapot as written by individuals with dyslexia. So, you have teapot, but you can see all the different ways that the letters kind of get arranged, and why that makes reading difficult, because if, I see teapot, but someone with dyslexia will see this, and it's like, what is that? What word is that? It's nonsense. So, continuing on. All right, guys. So that was chapter 7 from the online OpenStax 2E textbook. Again, my name is Prescott, and this is PsychSynced. It's a Sync Psychology. And I hope to see you guys all for chapter 8. We're just going to keep going through this whole course. Please let me know in the comments, how you enjoyed it, if you found it educational, if there's something I need to change about the way I'm presenting. I appreciate any and all feedback. So again, my name is Prescott, and I hope you guys have a great day. See you later.